Today we're talking about the 5 ways to better manage anxious attachment. Now, when I was doing research for this video, I was on Reddit a lot looking for just like real world examples, right? Like, how's it affecting you? How does it feel for you? Now, I came across what I think is one of my favorite prompts. And the prompt is, what's the most cringy thing you have done due to your anxious attachment? You can understand my excitement. Now, my favorite top 2, there were so many, is number 1, somebody shared that in my 20s, I jumped on the hood of my boyfriend's truck to keep him from driving away. Pretty good. The second one says, after we broke things off, I created a fake Instagram account. You can see where this is going. Of a bikini model that I knew he would like. I followed him. He followed me back. Just to get him to like the posts I created, even though he had no idea they were mine. And it gets worse. In the caption for one of them, I posed the question of how I looked in a certain lingerie getup. And he sent this fake half-naked woman, this fake person we created, right? A DM with a polite compliment. I was like, I dated a man who sends DMs to half-naked Instagram models for attention. That was cringy for me. So it's like their anxious attachment somehow spun it. These were so good. I will link this Reddit thread so that you can follow it yourself. As we go through these 5 ways to better manage our anxious attachment, I want you to remember what anxious attachment really is. It comes out of childhood when we have inconsistency in our parents or caregivers. It means that we really didn't know what to expect, whether they would show up, not show up, hurt us, not hurt us. It leaves us feeling very insecure. And in our case, this means that in our relationships going forward, we try to hold people really close. And the fear that someone might leave us or might not like us is extremely painful and scary. So we cling to people, hence that like anxious attachment, and we're so fearful and we worry a lot about someone potentially leaving. So keep that in mind as we work through these, because you can see how it applies to that feeling. Number 1 is to build self-awareness. Because let's be honest, for a lot of us, we don't even realize we're spiraling till we've been spiraling for like, I don't know, an entire day or a week. And we've already taken action, like creating a fake Instagram account, for example. And so we have to start recognizing when this is happening. We have to get better at understanding what thoughts or bodily feelings we have when we are afraid someone's going to leave. If we're triggered, we need to get better at noticing that happening. We need to be aware before we take action. As I was putting this video together, a friend of mine reached out to me to talk about a new person that she started dating. And this is just a perfect representation of awareness and why we need to be more aware of how we respond/react to things. Okay, so this guy that she started dating always hugged her when she first saw him. So like for every date, even when they first met, he hugged her. So nice to finally meet you, because they met online, it's 2024. So when she went to this date last week, just like a couple days ago when she talked to me, he didn't hug her first thing. This sent her spiraling. She said she got in her car to drive home and was like, oh my God, he doesn't like me. I'm getting rejected. And she has this like mantra/affirmation. She's like, rejection is redirection. Rejection is redirection. She was like, it was so scary to her to feel like he might not like her. But she's been doing a shit ton of work in therapy. And so she had the awareness to be like, I'm just freaking out. This is an overreaction. I know I do this. It's because I'm scared, because rejection feels icky. And she didn't take any action. And guess what? He asked her on another date. I think they're on a date actually today, playing pickleball. So there was nothing to that. But if she hadn't had that self-awareness, she could have canceled their next date. She could have blocked him on the app that they met on and detangled herself, right? Or she could have been super clingy and sent him a ton of texts like, are you sure you really like me? Are you sure this is going well? And so that awareness allowed her to not sabotage her very new and healthy and good so far relationship. If that example resonates with you, or if you felt that way, just know that having awareness really gives us the space to make a better choice, right? If we know that we're doing that, like, hey, am I turning into Sherlock Holmes because this person didn't text me back within the hour? Like being aware of that can really help us make better decisions and improve our relationships. Tip number 2 is to challenge our negative thoughts. When we struggle with anxious attachment, we often go to these like worst case scenarios in our head and we're like, oh, they're not texting me back because they're over me. Or that person hasn't gotten back to me yet because they're mad, right? We jump to these conclusions without really even having the evidence to support it. And so we're going to have to challenge those negative thoughts. We're going to have to check our facts. And thoughts are not facts. So pay attention to, obviously the awareness is first, right? We have awareness. Oh my God. Okay. Now I'm having these thoughts. Do I have facts to support them? Like, let's say, I'll give a personal example because I am more anxious. Let's say I went out with friends last night and then I text them this morning because I'm a people pleaser. And I text something like, so good to see you. Had such a great time. Can't wait to see you again. And they don't get back to me for like 3 or 4 hours. I could start spiraling. I could start thinking, oh my God, what did I say? Did I say something mean last night? Maybe they don't like me anymore. Maybe it wasn't as fun of a night that I thought. Maybe they didn't, I'm already spinning out, having negative thoughts about myself and how I can interact with my friends. I'm going to have to challenge that. I'm going to have to think back and check the facts on the night before. Did I say anything hurtful? No. Did we laugh at the same time? Yeah, we had a good time. They had a good time too. Even as a matter of fact, as I think back, when we were parting ways, they said, so good to see you. We're going to have to do that work so that our anxious attachment doesn't spiral us out and we don't end up acting in ways that could end up pushing someone away. When honestly, that's what we fear the most. Tip number 3 is finding your balance. When we have anxious attachment, we can make the person that we care about, a friend or a romantic partner, we can make them the center of our world. We can give them all the power, meaning that we will maybe turn down plans on a Friday night, hoping that they'll call us and want to see us. We'll wait at home for them to call. And then if they don't, and it gets later and later, we start feeling worse and worse about ourselves. And then we start making up things like they hate me and it's over and we can get angry. We can get resentful because we turned down the plans with our friends. In order to prevent that from happening, we have to work on building a life that we love. We have to say yes to invitations to see our friends, to do things we enjoy and not put everything on this one person. I even talked about this recently, moving to Austin, how I don't have many friends, and the friends that I did know were here when Sean and I decided to make the move aren't always available, and how much that bummed me out. I don't know if you guys remember that video, but I talked about it. And the reason I bring it up here is because the learning for me when I was journaling and in my own therapy about it was, hey, it's not really fair for me to put all of my emotional well-being and all of my feel good about an area on one person or on one relationship. That's too much pressure. That's not fair to them. They can't always be available, right? And so we have to build out a life we love. If that feels overwhelming to you, maybe just start thinking back to the last time you did something that you enjoyed. Maybe you went on a hike, maybe you took a painting class, maybe you were playing some music, or maybe you were watching a documentary. I don't know. The options are endless. But start making a list of the things that you have enjoyed or the things you want to try. And let's start ticking those things off and doing them more often so that our life is wonderful on its own. And if we choose to bring somebody into it, it just makes it all that much greater. It's not all them or all us. We have some balance. Tip number 4, learn to communicate your needs without freaking out. I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to forget, because this one's really hard, but really important. Now, we've all been there, right? We don't want to seem needy, so we don't ask for what we want, or we don't tell them we're upset. Maybe you're a people pleaser like me, conflict averse. We don't say anything. And then we explode later, and it's terrible. And then we say all the things that we don't want to say, some of which we probably don't even mean, but because we're in that emotion brain, right? We're not thinking logically. We're not able to clearly communicate. We're just, right? So we need to learn how to communicate without freaking out. It's better for everybody, everyone involved. benefits from this. And a great tool that I love to use is actually a tip that Brené Brown came up with. And it's called, I don't know if she actually gives it a name, but I've always thought of it as the story I'm telling myself. That's what she says. So before you say something to someone, like accusing them of, you didn't get back to me and you don't like me and you're so thoughtless, or I don't know, whatever we may think, instead of saying it that way, finger pointy, blaming, we say the story I'm telling myself about you not getting back to me is that you don't like me, or is that you're unhappy with our relationship, or I've done something wrong. Like in my case, where I was telling you that example, like I went out with my friends and then the next day I'm like, oh my God, they didn't text me back. They must not have had a good time. The way I could let them know about this is to say the story I tell myself when you don't get back to me for 24 hours or whatever is that you didn't really enjoy the time we spent, or that I'm not really that good of a friend to you. Right? We have to communicate what we're thinking, not just let the thoughts happen and let them build till we explode. So I love that tool. This is the story I'm telling myself, because that isn't so accusatory, right? We want to try to not do that. It also, another quote that came to mind when I was putting together my notes for this is that unspoken expectations are resentments in the making. And so if we don't communicate, if we don't tell someone, hey, it's very triggering for me or very upsetting for me when you don't reply to my text within a day, then they don't know that we're expecting that. They don't know that it's upsetting. And I'm not saying that every person's perfect and they're never going to overstep, but at least we communicated it, right? We don't want to resent them, so we have to let them know what we want. And also, because I'm a therapist, I cannot not mention I statements. When you're considering communicating about this, make sure that you aren't saying things like, you make me, you do this. Make it about yourself. Make it about your own experience. When this happens, I feel this kind of way. When you don't get back to me, I automatically assume, I jump to the conclusion that you don't like me. I jump to the conclusion you're not in love with me anymore. You don't want to date me, or you don't want to be my friend anymore, right? We have to let them know. And making it about us and our own experience, because that's really what this is about, makes it much easier for them to not only hear us, but to then be open to working with us and compromising so that hopefully we're not triggered as much. Tip number 5, know when to ask for help. Mental health professionals are there for a reason. And if any of the tips or all of the tips that I talked about, you're like, absolutely not, can't do it, never going to work for me, or it feels too overwhelming or makes us feel too vulnerable and we cannot tolerate that. A therapist can assist with all of that stuff. In fact, it can, we can hold on to our response to a text that maybe was a little upsetting until we talk to our therapist. It's a good way to check our facts. If we don't feel like we can check them ourselves, we can have our therapist assist with that. It's a great way to also role play out conversations and figure out better ways to interact, because if we do struggle with anxious attachment, I'm sure our relationships struggle too. Anxious attachment can turn us into someone we don't even recognize. The kind of person who stalks LinkedIn profiles or refreshes Instagram stories, maybe makes up a fake Instagram account. And remember, if this stuff feels too big to handle on your own, reach out for support. There are affordable therapy options, online support groups, and more. If you have any other ideas or things that have worked for you, please share them in the comments down below. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time.